population here with our otters. We do have 13 otters. This is one big giant family group of otters. We have a breeding male and female who had offspring in August of 2010 and then again in May of 2011. So the male and female had 5 pups the first time and actually had 6 pups the second time. And it's very normal for otters to stay within their family group, especially for the older pups to stay while the younger ones are born. Because when otters are first born, they actually do not have waterproof fur yet, so they cannot swim. Their eyes are closed, and so they don't leave the den for quite a while. The female will actually come away from the water, up the bank, and make a den. Her and the male will bring lots of nesting materials and everything that's needed. And then she'll stay in there up to a month, so it's up to the male to bring her all the food and everything she needs for the pups. And then they take them out one at a time and teach them how to swim. So after a few weeks, they can start to hold their breath. They'll take their faces and they'll dip them underwater and teach them how to hold their breath. And then they'll learn to swim in about a foot of water after about 50 days. It takes about, this is Dad, you can tell, last one to eat after our mom and all the pups have eaten.
Oh, that's
And so it takes a couple of months till they can actually do the deep dives that they need to do to find food. You'll see we kind of have our exhibit divided into 2 by that area over there. When they're first born, they're in the den in the back, but then she brings them out and teaches them how to swim. And in the shallow water of the pools, we have to block off the deep end of the pool until they can learn to hold their breath. They're strong enough and not to go in the deep end. Because once we open it up, of course, it's all 5 or 6 in there, and they're all biting and pushing each other under. So you need to be really good swimmers, be able to hold their breath. And they're just all about adult size now. You can see they're all the same size, pretty hard to tell apart. Otters will be able to have their own offspring. They'll venture out about a year old to a year and a half old, find their own mates. But in that time, they need to stay with that group because if the males need to learn what to bring the female, the nesting materials and that, the female needs to learn how to teach her pups to swim. All these things they learn from their parents. So it's common to have a big group like this. And then the first litter would start to venture off. She also has more in the second litter than the first, which is very common because she's got 5 helpers to help her carry them around and teach them to swim and things, so she can actually take care of more. So this is how we went from 2 otters to 13 otters in about a year and a half. There's still a lot that we don't know about otters in the wild. This is a freshwater otter species, so they're going to be in the freshwater rivers along Asia. And you'll see that they have lots of whiskers on their face. You can also probably tell they have a little bit more individual digits on their fingers as opposed to the full web. They have full webbing on their back, but they have a little bit individual fingers on the front. So what they do is they are actually going to stick their face in the riverbank or in the bottom of the river, and they're looking for any kind of invertebrates, any insects, snails, any mollusks are always favorites. So they're sticking the face in the mud, and they're using their hands and those whiskers to feel around for anything they might be able to catch it and eat. So that's how they find their food, is for this species of otters. And we're still not quite sure as far as males and females. It seems to be that while there's this many otters together, boys and girls, that the youngsters are actually suppressed by the female until they leave. And then there's some change that goes on hormonally where they start to become sexually mature and are able to breed. And it's one of the things we're trying to study in the wild, but it's really hard to find a female in a den that'll let you do research on her and try to figure out all the different things that go on as far as hormone changes and why she has fewer in the beginning and more in their second and third litters. It's all different stuff they're trying to learn. So this group is actually getting ready to go to the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. What they want to do is they want to leave this group together, and they want to see how do those males and females as they grow up, how do their interactions change with their siblings, how do they change with the parents, the males, how does the breeding male change as his sons start to get a little bit older. So there's lots of stuff to learn about otters, lots of stuff going on in this family group all the time. So National Zoo just built a brand new exhibit. It's about the size of our capybara exhibit, so they're taking all 13 there. We actually brought their breeding male and female here. They're in quarantine right now. So we'll start again with a different breeding pair. And these guys will stick together and they'll try to learn as much as they can about otters and what's going on. All of the otters of this specific species are managed as one giant population in captivity. So all the AZ zoos that have Asian small-clawed otters, it's all one big group. They're all put together into a population. They're managed that way. Transfers that come and go just happen among different zoos. It's part of what we call the species survival plan. So gorillas are managed that way, elephants. Every species has its own collection. And so there's just about 300 zoos, and every species is managed together as one. So there's experts in otters, gorillas, leopards, whatever the species is, and every year they get together, they look at births and deaths. How much space is always our limiting factor, and so they try to take a look at moving around and making suggestions and breeding recommendations. So this way, if they leave the family group together, they can learn a lot about them, and then we don't have to worry about the 11 offspring and breeding because they're not quite ready for that yet. So
Wow, look at all of them.
soon you guys will see. We'll go from 13 back to 2, but it's just part of the breeding program and managing the best that we can for everybody.
What type of otters are you bringing in?
Same type. Yep. Still Asian small pond. Yep.
They're going to have two.
Still part of the breeding program.
When is that going to happen?
Probably in the next month or 2. Yeah.
We've been
They're all.
watching this set of otters for as long as we can.
Yeah. We've always had Asian small clawed otters here. We managed